In a deserted land, an ancient divine dragon is impaled in the chest with a divine attack from a legendary hero. The beast is intelligent and begins to ponder his own existence on this planet, with it being nothing but pain, as he's never once done something to warrant humans hunting him down. At times, he'd actually be their allies, but in the end, they still attack him. The hero takes out his sword, causing a fountain of blood to come out. The dragon's body, as if it was made out of stone, begins to crumble, rapidly breaking down. He stares at the sight of the full moon, believing that it may be time for him to die. His body crumbles into the abyss-like sea. He begs the Grim Reaper to take his soul and send it to the underworld so that he may finally rest. But the Reaper does not answer his call. Instead, when he awakens, it's not the world of the afterlife, but he's transmigrated to the body of a newborn baby and being warmly welcomed to a new happy family. His mother names him Dalin, and years later, the young man has grown up in a small mountain town, the north of the capital. He stares at the sunset, thinking about his past life. A young girl named Ari enthusiastically calls out to him as her mother has invited him over for dinner. He pats the little girl's head and agrees to go back home for dinner. Vrun is a small town on the north border of the kingdom of Arcrest. A human born with average looks wakes up to start his day as a farmer, as the only job in the town is agriculture, with him working hard on the fields every day. Like a lot of small towns in the ancient times, a child is considered an adult at the age of 15, expected to be able to live on his own and provide for himself. Dalin is 16, so it's been nearly more than a year since he left home to live in his own house as an adult. At the local creek, he fishes with one of his fellow villagers, being his older brother. He's asked if he's going to be visiting the swamp again. His older brother figure tries to persuade him not to do so, as he's not a soldier and isn't responsible for protecting people, but he's determined to go. The two of them manage to get a good haul of fish, showing it off to their friends, Melita and Albert. While salting his fish, he recalls that the two of them have been preparing for their training, as the village still needs protection from bandits and monster attacks, with citizens all expected to learn how to fight to protect themselves, having a policy of self-sufficiency. At that moment, a young girl calls out to Dalin, reminding him that magic practice is today. Ari blushes, as the young girl has a crush on the young man. At practice, he chants a magical spell. His teacher, Margaru, and the little girl compliments his offensive magic. The older woman teases him, as their next subject is going to be medicine, this being his worst subject. That evening, the village chief introduces Dalin to a noble lady named Christina. He takes a moment to appreciate her beauty, as such hair and fair skin hasn't been seen in the countryside. The old man whispers to him to be on his best behavior around her. While walking home, he recalls how the seasons in this village are quite honest, as during the winter, you have to worry about freezing to death, and during the summer, it's extremely hot. As a former dragon, he had the luxury of having adaptive skin, meaning when it was too hot, he could shed his skin off, and when it was too cold, his scales would protect him. He admits that as a human, they have it pretty rough. Stepping into his former house, he's greeted by the sight of his younger brother, mother, and father. While enjoying his mother's home-cooked meal, his father believes that it's time for him to be looking for a good wife, who's good at cooking, with his older brother agreeing, as he's already mentioned this to the parents, as he's already made himself his own family. Dalin says that he would rather enjoy his single life a bit longer. Marco questions him if he's going to go back to the swamp tomorrow to go take on the lizards. Hearing this, his mother is worried about him, saying that he'd have to travel pretty far away from the village and have to encounter dangerous monsters, not wanting to see him be injured, but he assures her that he won't take any risk, prioritizing his safety. Pouring himself a cup of wine, his father doesn't mind what type of choice he wants to make as an adult, as he can make his own decisions, but reminds him not to worry his mother. The next morning at the gate, the captain of the guards overreacts to Dalin going alone to the swamp, but is told off by Melita that he'll be fine. Letitia gives Dalin a blessing to keep him safe from monsters, and the old fortune teller gives him a warning if she's received a bad reading today, and Ari blushes as she's already prepared a packed meal for him. The townspeople come out to give him a warm send-off, and he hikes up a trail an hour away from the village. From time to time, lizards would come out near the town, but recently, they've stopped, making the town want to go investigate the cause of this. At the swamp, he takes his gloves off, dropping his hand into the water surface, using his own mana to locate any life. He then reaches for a sword, as only a powerful monster could live in the swamp. He sees a long bluish tail in the bushes, but he's shocked at what he sees next. A young woman, with a rather flirtatious face, tells him that it was foolish for him to come here. This creature is known as Lamia, a snake woman. The species doesn't usually interact with humans, but have been known for being evil and rather vicious, and like the rumors say, she's beautiful. The Lamia then asks him if he's alone, and Dalin agrees. The girl smiles to herself, then remembers what she has to do. She begins to wiggle her body around, just like her mother taught her. The innocent girl tries to move her body seductively, but fails, saying they can do a different type of fighting. But the two of them are interrupted, with with a giant golem-like creature ready to attack them. The young woman screams, but luckily Dahlan is there and manages to slice off the golem's hand. He grabs the girl and takes her away to safety. When he leaves, Dahlan says that this creature is known as a mad earth elemental. The lizards that used to live here were a semi-intelligent race who just wanted to be away from humans, but they must have been wiped out in the last month due to this elemental earth creature, as it was formed based on the increase of earth mana in the area. With this out of the way, Dahlan then introduces himself to the girl. She says that her name is Selena. Dahlan suggests that the two of them team up together to defeat the earth monster, but Selena's eyes begin to dart, as she can't use her magic, as all of it's earth magic, meaning it wouldn't be effective against the creature. The only thing that she can probably provide him is her racial effect. Dahlan agrees to this, with him coming up with a plan to be the distraction, allowing for her to back him up in the rear. She agrees to this and says her vows, in sickness and in health, till death do them part. Dahlan recognizes these words as a marriage contract. She blushes out an apology, as she misunderstood. The two of them get into position to fight, and Dahlan gives her the signal. They then rush at the earth elemental. The golem shoots out rock bullets. Dahlan is able to battle away this attack. Selena chants out her curse attack, calling it Dram, summoning a blood-red snake out of the ground to strangle her enemy, but she can't hold on to the summoning creature forever. Luckily, this gives Dahlan enough time to maneuver up the body of the creature and land a decisive blow. Selena tries to run away, as the earth elemental crumbles, leaving her covered in monster mud fluid. He checks her body to make sure she's not hurt. Looking behind her, he notices magical stones. The two of them make a camp that night in the once former lizard village, but the Lamia is surprised that he's not afraid of her. Dahlan believes that she's much different from what the rumors say about their aggressive species, with him actually knowing some previously. When he asks to see why he then asks to know why she's not in the Lamia village, as they rarely come out to go see humans. She tells him that once a Lamia turns 17, she must leave to go find a husband. The Lamia species almost always gives birth to a female, with the child being the same race as their husband. The species was created when a female human was cursed, so their body naturally has a high toxin level, meaning their husband has to be someone that has a strong body, who's resistant to poison, as their body fluids are natural poisons. Selena wags her tail, saying that how her father is also a human, who met her mother along her journey, secretly hoping that Dahlan will take the bait. He passes her a bowl of soup, admitting that he's not that good of a cook in comparison to his mother, but it should be edible. Selena agrees, saying that it's good. As they continue talking, she admits that every time he brings up his family, she can see his mood perking up. Hearing this, Dahlan can only remember the lonely times in his life, being grateful for this opportunity to have a family. The next morning, the two of them leave to turn in opposite directions, as they're both on different journeys. He tells the Lamia to go visit him when she's finished and finds a husband, so they can celebrate, and Selena agrees, but he lastly gives her some life energy, as this is something that Lamias feed off of. Selena is shocked, as it has to be the most tastiest life energy she's ever had. Episode 2. On a bridge, Selena is greeted by two men, who are worried to see a young lady traveling by herself. Selena says that there's nothing wrong, as she's strong. That's when the two men see her lower body. The grown men run away screaming. In fear as they recognize her as a Lamia, the girl's sweat drops, as her race's reputation precedes them. With this being the normal reaction she's been receiving from all the men, Margaru gives Dahlan and Ari another lesson in magical potions, saying they need to learn how to infuse magical ingredients in order for it to work. Both of them pour a magical potion onto an item, trying to infuse it. The item Dahlan is holding disintegrates. The old woman notices that he's terrible at these subtle things. Dahlan agrees, and the young Ari tries to keep his spirits up, saying all of his good qualities, as well as calling him handsome. Margaru laughs at them, praising the young girl's progress, telling her to go outside and play. Alone with Dahlan, Margaru advises him not to skip any steps, wanting him to appreciate the little things, being an important life lesson, deciding to help teach him how to turn his poisonous failures into antidotes. At Margaru's household, he has lunch with Ari's family. The family says their grace, giving praise to their god, Meryl, this being the god that everyone in the capital follows. Dahlan can only think about how it's been a long time since he's seen her, knowing her personally. While running in a rush to go back home, he's greeted by a soft-spoken, mature voice, coming from a woman with cow ears, as she urges him to rest and come by her place to have some of her fresh milk. He can't help but pause when looking at her, as this demi-human shares her milk with the villagers, and he has to admit, the taste of it's rather divine. He tries to leave as he feels like he's committing a crime by betraying the captain of the guard with his wife, but she pushes a jug of milk into his face. Looking at it, he can't resist, chugging it down. Afterwards, he rushes over to Albert's, as he's training the next generation of defenders. Albert tells the kids to go take a break, and the kids eagerly run to Dahlan to show off their spearsmanship, but is able to sense something in the forest, detecting a monster. That night when he goes out to investigate, he's now sure that it was a monster. The atmosphere is tense, because past the clearing of the bush is a bathing Lamia. being none other than Selena. The two of them stare at each other, but as a dragon who's lived for more than 1,000 years, he's not embarrassed by the sight of a naked woman. The girl's embarrassed and trips. Luckily, Dallin is there to catch her. When she finally gets up to try and cover herself, Dallin admits that the sight is rather beautiful and apologizes, as he doesn't have a large vocabulary to compliment her. She wants him to turn around so she can put on her clothing, but Dallin doesn't feel the need to do so, saying that it's only natural to be attracted to beautiful things, calling it an animal instinct. Selena calls him shameful and slaps him. Having now calmed down, he recognizes the error of his mistakes, apologizing to her. She accepts it and the two of them move on. Dallin wonders why she came south, as she traveled north in search for her husband. She tells him that that was her plan, but most of the men that she engaged with ran away from her. As she's still working on her confidence, having so many negative responses to her appearance, it made her disheartened. Dallin understands her problem, but is happy to see her again. Hearing this cheers her up. Thinking for a moment, he asks if the girl would like to live with him. This shocks her. After she calms down, she reminds him that she's a monster, believing that since the villagers are humans, they would naturally be afraid of her. He waves off her concerns, informing her that in the town, demi-humans and other monsters are actually common, living side by side with humans. They may be a bit worried about her at first, but once they learn that she's a good Lamia and see her personality, they'll calm down rather quickly. She's still in a state of shock, as she's always wanted to be friends with humans, but they always run away from her. He says that having her around would make his life better. In his head, he recognizes that this sounds like he's trying to court the girl. Selena's a bit self-conscious, as she actually came here to see him again, wanting more of his yummy life energy. Dallin is happy to hear about this, as he intentionally did this so that she wouldn't forget about him. Selena agrees, with him asking if she would like some more. Selena agrees, saying that it was quite nourishing, and Dallin says that he's going to agree to give her plenty once the two of them live together. That night, the two of them share some more life energy, but in the morning, the soldiers are in high alert, as another batch of animals were killed and sent to the front of their gates. Another team reports that they've noticed a snake-like human figure in the forest. Hearing this, the captain recognizes it as Lamia, being known as a powerful and highly dangerous monster. This gets the attention of the other elders, with them all having concerns as to why this Lamia has appeared. The men wonder why would an evil monster leave offerings at their door, while the women are happy, as they always wanted to taste a shark. The captain of the guards, Ballin, wants to go out and eliminate the monster before he decides to attack them, while another one of them wants to go and gather reinforcements from the capital. Meanwhile, Dallin is picking up logs from a recently cut tree, with him able to overhear this meeting because of his magic. He's still surprised to hear that humans and monsters have such deep-rooted divided tension amongst themselves. The elder fortune teller yells at Ballin, telling him not to panic, with her understanding how much he wants to protect the village, but says that there has to be a reason why she's offering them food. The meeting is then interrupted by Ari, as she goes to greet her grandmother, giving her the reading of her fortune telling. Hearing the news about the oracle skill, everyone pays attention. Marguerite looks at her granddaughter's results, happy, as she received the same one this morning. The reading says that Lamia is a good sign of good fortune. Dallin is pumped up to hear this, as fortune telling and the followers of Marl have high positions in the capital, meaning everyone has to listen to their authority. That evening, he rushes over back to Selena to tell her the good news, with him feeling that it's time for the next part of the plan. The next day, a party is assembled around the forest, with Ballin giving out orders, telling everyone to keep their eyes on the Lamia, and to signal to everybody else if you spot it. The party is led by Captain Ballin and Vice Captain Melita, and a follower of the goddess, Marl, with this woman being the most crucial in the party, as because of her status with the goddess, she can easily label Selena as an evil heretic and have her killed on the spot. Knowing this, Selena is nervously hiding in the bushes, as her life is on the line here. Their plan is to wait for the piercing bunnies to attack Dallin. That's when Selena is going to come in and save him, believing after seeing her in action, no one's going to believe that she's some type of malicious monster. Just as they're about to start their plan, one of the men from the search party runs back screaming. The captain believes that it's the Lamia, and Selena is worried, not knowing there was another Lamia here. But as the soldier tries to calm down and explain the situation, the search party is approached by an armored bear. All the men are afraid, and Ballin tells them not to attack, as he believes that he can defeat this beast by himself. But unfortunately, fear overtakes the men, breaking their formation, as all the so-called soldiers run away screaming, somehow leaving Ballin's son in the front line. With his only being a kid, he has no chance to escape the bear's path. The boy is panicking, calling for his father, but yet no one moves. Dallin is the fastest person to move, but he's still not fast enough, as by the time he gets there it'll be too late. At the last second, Selena rushes out the bushes, shielding the young boy with her body, and now she's greatly pissed off. Her eyes change, as her psychological attack makes the bear docile, sending it back to the forest. The party is shocked by this. Ballin is the first to recover, piercing the ground with his weapon, telling them to all step back and away from the Lamia. Dallin, now catching up, tells the boy to go back to his father. The boy is hesitant, as even he knows that the Lamia is not a bad person, but he still listens to his father, running back behind him. Ballin yells that Dallin should do the same and come back to them. Dallin stands his ground, saying that he won't, as he was raised not to treat kindness with spite. Balin is less confident, but still deems that the Lamia is too dangerous, and he has the responsibility to protect this town that he was entrusted to. Selena says that she may be a Lamia, but her mom married her dad, who's a human, with the two of them leading a happy life. She bows, explaining that she doesn't intend to stay here forever, but would be grateful if she could live in this village for the meantime, as that's the reason she gave them offerings, bowing deeply to show her sincerity, even though her back is greatly damaged. Hearing the sincerity in her voice, this makes everyone feel bad for falsely labeling her as a villain, with other soldiers thinking that she's rather cute, not seeing how she could hurt anybody. This is when Balin turns to Letisa, a follower of the goddess. The woman is overblown by the amount of positive energy the goddess is giving her, as Goddess Meryl gave her divine judgment, labeling the Lamia as a child of nature, just like all of them. As she keeps her eyes closed, the woman explains that the Lamia has been keeping her head bowed and eyes closed this entire time, doing so not to just show her sincerity, but to also not curse anybody here. Selena agrees, and then passes out. Dolan screams out her name, calling out worriedly to her, and asking to take her back to the village. When she wakes up, the town has already prepared a house for her, but knowing that she's a Lamia, they know that she has different needs than humans. Balin thanks her for saving his son, and bows to her. As a form of apology, she's happy to see such a warm welcome to her, and Selena and Dolan shake hands, acting like this is their first time meeting. Dolan stands to the side, thanking his old friend Meryl for giving her blessing to Selena. That night while he's sleeping, he projects his astral form, believing that it's been eons since he's used this form. He ascends to the heavens, wanting to go thank someone in person. A woman with an elegant and mature appearance greets the dragon, as she was sure that she was feeling a familiar presence in her domain. He formally greets her, and she simply laughs it off, as this is the first time the Dolan has used the title that Earthlings bestowed upon her, that being a goddess. She reminds Dolan to simply greet her by her name. Meryl keeps the conversation on topic, as she knows the reason is why he's visiting her, with it having to be with the Lamia. Dolan agrees, as if not for her blessing, Selena could have been in great danger. Still, he wonders how she managed to realize he was reincarnated as a human. Meryl says she was able to recognize his soul from the offerings she received in the past. Knowing that it was her old friend, she felt that she had to answer his request, remarking how he's living so lively now, in comparison to when he was a dragon, feeling empty and hoping for death. He admits that this is true, recalling being pierced by a hero's blade. Even in his last moments, he had little reaction to it, but now, things are different. The mortals of this world live every day like it's their last, having bright spirits. She flies up to him. She's genuinely happy to hear him enjoying his life. He's woken up from his meeting with the goddess by Selena barging to his house. He reminds her that it's customary to knock on the door first, and the girl quickly apologizes, wanting to go outside and try this again. He laughs at her antics, asking what brought her here to his house so early in the morning. She pouts at him, as it seems like he's already forgotten that he promised Christina to go plant some potatoes with her. Meanwhile, in the capital city, the headmistress is offered some mail by her young secretary. The younger girl is excited, as they finally receive a message from Christina, this being the top student of their academy. Olivia makes the paper levitate to her, and then she snaps her fingers, opening the message. Christina gives her a report on the situation. Christina was sent from the capital to Vrun, but this being because they lacked proper defenses. At that time, Christina was having a spar with the vice captain. The villagers go out to watch this spectacle, as it's not every day that a noble lady from the top academy in the capital face off against one of their own, with most of them already trying to defend Melita, believing that she can make a comeback. So far she's losing. Christina, however, doesn't get arrogant, as she knows that this older woman is holding back. Melita admits that she is holding back, and agrees to take this fight more seriously, taking out a short blade. As she's a dual swordsman, the battle becomes fierce, with the two women striking down with deadly precision. If they were an enemy, they'd already be dead, but in the end, Christina still manages to win, knocking her blade away. The crowd cheers, as this was an excellent duel. As a show of sportsmanship, the two of them shake hands. Christina praises the girl's dedication and her skill, making the older woman blush. The captain also comes in to shake hands, and offer her a warm hospitality to the restaurant. Christina finds the atmosphere to be nice and welcoming. At the bar, the girls offer her some dishes, while also complimenting her looks. Their counterparts, being the men, wish to exchange drinks between warriors. That night, Christina is left alone in her room, unable to sleep still. She gets up prepared to do some midnight training, but is spotted by Selena and Dolan. Selena welcomes her to come back to her house. Inside, Selena is able to break the awkward ice by showing the best part of her room, that being her bed that was made specially for Lamias. Christina lays down, agreeing that it's a nice and comfortable bed. The two girls then talk about the tavern, being ran by Balin's wife, who produces the best milk, then about various daily topics of the villagers. As Dolan's about to join in the conversation, the girls feel that he's too distant, asking why he's so far away from them, and not sitting on the bed. He refuses, causing them to go grab him and push him on top of the bed, making all of them chuckle. The next day, many men clink jugs in unison, as they're all satisfied with Mia's milk. Balin smiles with pride, asking who's going to step up and drink more of his wife's delicious milk. At that moment, Christina and Selena walk in. Ballin excitedly calls out to the girls, asking what brings her here. Christina says that she's been told that they serve divine milk. The man is rather proud about this, and Miyu is happy to hear this, rushing over to give her a cup. Christina happily chugs down the entirety of the cup, happily enjoying the taste. Ballin recognizes this form, deducing that she's quite the drinker. Ballin wants to know how much she can drink, and Christina warns him that she can handle herself, and not to blame her if she empties out the entire village's storage of milk. Hearing this, the two of them face off in a drinking competition. After some time, it's clear that the milk-drinking champion Ballin is in trouble, as Christina is keeping up with him. Ballin takes another sip, but soon collapses on the table, and everyone cheers as they have a new milk-drinking champion, being Christina. Afterwards, Miyu wishes to have Christina taste out a new batch of milk. Coming from her daughter, Christina drinks it and calls it great, as it has a nice and sweet taste to it, making the little girl want to go hug her. Olivia finishes the letter, as it contains all this information about her daily life, recalling that it's all thanks to Dahlin and the Lamia for the villagers opening up to her. This news is shocking. The message reaches the ears of the nobles, becoming the new gossip in the kingdom. One woman in particular is rather interested with the news of a Lamia, with her name being Charon. Olivia doesn't understand why a noble woman like herself, that's employed directly from the government as a mage, would be so worried about a Lamia. Charon feigns innocence, as she doesn't believe that humans and monsters can coexist. Remembering the recent news of a woman going missing, Olivia admits that the news is rather troubling, but the Lamia was confirmed to be a good person, bestowed a blessing by the goddess, Maro. At this, Charon knows that the matter can't be decided just because of that, knowing that Olivia has no jurisdiction over Vrun. Looking to an old man, she knows that the jurisdiction lies with him, with his name being Goda. He steps forward, understanding what she's implying, as he will go send an envoy to get more information. Having no knowledge about what's happening in the capital, Donald's instructing Christina and Selena on how to properly plant potatoes. Just then, Glenn comes running to the group, being out of breath. He tells them that they've been ordered to appear in the front of the gates, as the town has a representative from the capital. Arriving there, the elder of the village goes to grab Christina to take her away. In the next second, Selena and Dahlin are being surrounded by soldiers, pointing their weapons at them. Goda states his title over this land, being the commissioner of the North Frontier. This village falls under his territory. Goda confronts Dahlin, asking if he's the one that brought this Lamia into the king's holy territory. Dahlin doesn't back down, staring back unblinkingly, agreeing that he was indeed the person that brought her here. An elder priestess of the church, named Parames, tells her colleague to stop this nonsense, as the goddess has already given her blessing to this Lamia, so the matter is already settled. Goda says that he doesn't mean to question the goddess's blessing, but as this land's protector, he must take her back to the government building for judgment, as she doesn't have the proper permit to stay here. Dahlin questions him, as if he doesn't mean to undermine the goddess's decision, then why cause such an issue? Goda believes that Selena should follow the proper procedure. Just like everyone else who wants to have residency here, she must have the proper papers, but refers to her in a demeaning tone by not acknowledging her as a person, but calling her just a Lamia. Selena agrees to go with them, but Dahlin requests to go with her as well, to keep her safe. Godo doesn't care, and by sunset, the two of them are taken away in a carriage ride. Christina believes that she needs to go with them to make sure they're treated properly, as she's already prepared to speak to the headmistress on the matter, as she might be able to speak to her in defense, as the headmistress of the academy has a decent amount of authority in the capital. Using her wind magic, she's able to run at an incredibly fast speed, outpacing the horse-drawn carriage, to arrive back at the capital by nightfall. Christina then barges into Olivia's office, much to Olivia's annoyance. When she calms down to sit down for some tea, she realizes what the problem is, as Godo isn't really the one who wanted to judge them, with the issue lying with the government mage, Charon, and given her higher status, he couldn't just ignore her request. Charon says that she suspects the Lamia being the person behind the missing woman cases, demanding that Selena be brought here. Christina says this is rather impossible, as Selena was in Vrun at the time of all these missing cases, not to mention the travel time to get here. Olivia knows all that, but they'll simply have to wait. Meanwhile, Dahlin tries to comfort Selena, telling her not to worry, and the two of them cuddle underneath a blanket, but in the next moment, they're interrupted by a soldier, who says that the commissioner would like to speak to them. The guard takes the two deeper into the forest, to the designated meeting point. Once there, Goda turns to give him a shocking revelation, which only highlights the severity of the situation. Christina loses her composure, as the government general is planning to make Selena a scapegoat, since they haven't been able to catch the criminals, leaving the girl with very little options. Olivia admits that it's quite corrupt, but states that there are some options they have available to them. Outside the castle, Kira greets the two of them, thanking Selena for coming. She turns to Dahlin, asking who he is. Dahlin introduces himself as the person that brought her to Vrun village, wanting to make sure she comes back safely. Kira moves on, turning to the old man, instructing him to go write a report and have it turned in by tomorrow. He nods and leaves. That night she offers the two of them a meal as a way to make up for the sudden appearance, reassuring them that everything is alright, as they can handle all the boring paperwork tomorrow, letting Selena know that she's gonna be alright. Selena is relieved to hear this, as she was nervous the entire time about what's going to happen to her. Dahlin knows that she would have to register with Goto eventually, so he isn't mad about the situation. Selena reveals that she thought she would be killed. Kiaran admits that it was a possibility, as people could assume that she was using her cursed eyes to manipulate people, but after talking to her right now, it seems that her judgment was unfounded. At that moment, Goto steps into the headmaster's office. Christina is angered upon seeing him, as she demands some explanation, wanting to know where her friends are at. Goto doesn't even acknowledge the angry teenager, as it's urgent that he speaks to the headmistress. Back at the dining hall, Kiaran waves around her wine, complimenting Selena on her beauty, calling her the most striking Lamia she's seen. With her unable to hold back anymore, at that moment, both Selena and Dahlin fall unconscious. Back with the headmistress, Goto looks at Christina, asking if she's trustworthy to listen in on this conversation. Olivia sadly nods, allowing Christina to listen in. Goto then begins to report his findings. Recently, young beautiful women have been going missing. Almost as if he's changing the subject, he mentions that there happens to be a human that has been living for more than 300 years. Christina believes that this is the headmaster, and Olivia gets a tick mark, saying that she's not that old. Goto continues, as this type of appearance isn't natural. Christina is able to guess what this man is implying, saying that this must be the result of some type of powerful forbidden magic. He continues the rumor, as this woman takes the body of her victims, with her recently having an interest in Lamias. Goto says they don't have much time, as they need to go right now to save their friends. Olivia gets up. She initially didn't want to get her students involved with this mess, but it can't be helped. In an underground base, Kiaran is ready to perform her hidden forbidden surgery when Selena, as she smiles, ready to happily skin this girl alive, and then plan out her escape, specifically what she's going to say to the government. Dahlin says that that's far enough. When she turns to the man, she sees that he's already broken free of his bindings. The woman is confused as to whether she messed up on the dosage of her drugs. Dahlin crouches down, with him able to smell the scent of blood, looking at the magical circle, making him ask coldly, asking how many people have she sacrificed. She blankly responds saying that she's lost count the moment she went past 100. He questioned her on why, but Kiaran simply ignores his question, continuing the ramble, flatly admitting that she's nothing more than a monster at this point, as she does it all for her research, curiosity, and her own beauty. Dahlin deduces that she's made some type of deal with the devil, and she doesn't deny this, bragging as she says that her arms are made from an arachne, her legs come from a beastskin, skin of an elf, but now she's thinking of replacing with Selena, as she's let her desires take over her, committing harm to innocent people. Kiaran doesn't care, as the very people that might judge her instead praise her work as a researcher, with her making a lot of money and powerful allies. She declares that she's going to be using every part of Selena's body, not allowing anything to go to waste. Selena wakes up from this, calling the woman cruel. She slightly raises her eyebrows, with this being the only little reaction they're able to get out of her. She decides that after this meeting, she's going to heavily increase the dosage in the future, as if this exact same event has happened several times. Selena can't believe how many people she's tricked, how many innocent people just like her were about to die at the hands of this mage. But the older woman says that she's doing them a favor, as those girls were nothing more than damaging their skins in the pleasure corners. The two of them then revealed that they've been recording this entire time, which manages to lose her smile. Just then, the door breaks down, and Goto arrives with his backup, with them all preparing to arrest Kiaran, calling to arrest this monster in human flesh. Olivia now understands Kiaran's plan, as she was going to frame Selena for the crimes of kidnapping all those women, then report killing her the next day, getting an extra bonus from the government. Olivia and Christina rebuke her for all the senseless killing and her fear of death. Kiaran believes that the two of them have no right to speak of her, as if they're on some type of moral high ground, as the two of them would just never understand, as they were born beautiful. As a little girl, she hated her appearance in the mirror, and one day, she decided to do something about it, so she grabbed a knife and stalked a woman that looks like her current self, killing her. She then skinned her and took her face. She then soon repeated the process, committing the same actions multiple times. Then one day she met her devil benefactors, and now she could repeat the process on a larger scale. Back to the present day, she declares to show them the fruits of her 300 years of efforts, transforming to a hideous monster, with this being a reflection more of what she's become. Dahlin calls his appearance as a result of the deal that she made with the devil, as the technique is called body fusion. She attacks the guards, but is stopped by Selena's cursed eye. When she manages to break free of it from this attack, she goes to attack Selena, but the monster's fingers are sliced off by Christina. The noble lady continues her assault, slicing off more of her body parts. The monster then decides to attack from a range, using dark magic, or rather her bad breath. In the meantime, Dahlin creates 3 magical barriers. He asks the creature if she's happy with her life, but of course, the monster's not happy, as she can never be happy. Dahlin performs a celestial javelin attack, with the monster being pierced from an onslaught of arrows, while also keeping the attack confined to that space. defeating Kiaran once and for all. The next day, Dahlin and Selena had to stay confined to a mansion, since they use magic in a government building. The group from the previous day is soon brought together, where Lord Godo apologized for getting them involved in such a high-profile case. The government generals are embarrassed for having one of their own high-class mages commit such levels of heinous crimes, all under their watch. As thanks, he hands over a list of papers to Selena, with them being her registration papers, as he apologizes again for all the misunderstandings. As he knew from the beginning what type of person she was, Olivia interrupts them, as there's a person that wishes to speak with Dahlin. Outside of a large mansion, the group is greeted by Denzel, this being the son of Margru, being the village's fortune teller and elder mage teacher. Denzel offers to show them around the city, and Selena happily agrees. When they get to the marketplace, she's amazed to see how big it is, as well as all the different shops. On the street, a young boy drops some food. Selena happily goes to pick it up for him and return it to him, but the boy's mother picks him up, hurriedly running away from her in fear of the Lamia. This causes a bigger commotion in the market. Selena is saddened by this event, but puts on a brave smile, asking to go back to the village. The group is given a warm send-off, but before they head back, Denzel offers Dahlin an enrollment to the Magical Academy, believing it'd be a waste for him to stay in Vrun. This shocks the teenagers. Dahlin quickly recovers from this, appreciating the offer, but declining. Olivia then leans in, knowing his secret as a dragon, and feels that more training at the academy would be a good choice as he could better refine his skills. Denzel adds that it might be best for him to leave, to better protect the village. The two groups say their goodbyes, and on the ride back, Christina is curious if he's actually going to be considering the offer of going to the academy. Dahlin admits that it does sound like an interesting opportunity, and coming to Galio makes him realize just how small Vrun is in comparison. All this makes Selena sad, as she doesn't want to see her best friend leave.